Hey, William Gilmore here for the ScreenwritersJourney.com, and it is October 31st, 2015. Happy Halloween! That also means it's the end of the month, time for the end of the month wrap up, and it's also day 61 of the journey. Just 10 months left to go. So, where are we? Well, compared to last month, we're about the same across the board as far as accomplishing the goals. I did not get that second episode of Everyday Clowns done that I was hoping for. The next IAW TV reading is mid-month of November, around November 15th, so I've got to get it done by then. I was hoping to be able to knock that out and be a little ahead of the game going into NaNoWriMo, which is the National Novel Writers Month, which is taking place over the month of November. Write a novel in 30 days. I'm not going to write a whole novel in 30 days, but I am going to work on the novelization of the screenplay Night Falls, but that's next month. This month, October, we posted 28, or I posted 28 news articles to the news page on the website versus 31 articles last month. So just about the same, and there's some really good articles, and I've got a couple more lined up ready to go. I just haven't had time to post them. In fact, I haven't really posted much of anything on the website this past week, and I'll get to why in just a moment. So if I had been posting regularly over this past week, I would have exceeded the number of articles that we got up last month. I only did one script talk interview this month. I was hoping for two, but again, I just got so involved with the writing. I was like, well, do I schedule another interview with someone? Because I got a couple people lined up want to do it, but you can get caught up doing all these other things and not do the writing. And I said, no, I want to concentrate on the writing. And if the other things have to sort of go by the wayside, then that's what will have to happen. And so that's what happened with the news articles and with the script talk. I also didn't do quite as many daily vlogs as I did last month. Last month I did one every single day. I think I missed one day. And this time around, I took a couple days off here and there, simply because there wasn't necessarily a lot going on to talk about. You know, I'm doing the rewrites. I'm rewriting, and that would have been about it. So until I could tell you what the progress was on those rewrites, it didn't seem prudent to post a blog on that. As far as the actual pages written, I got about 56 pages between the rewrites and some work on the secret project, which is definitely taking a back burner now. And Everyday Clowns. So between last month I had 51 pages, got 56 pages this month, so I got a few more pages in. Definitely exceeding my 1 page a day minimum. Didn't quite make all the goals that I set out for myself because I really wanted to get that extra episode of Everyday Clowns, but still 56 pages of new material. I'll take that. So between September and October, that's what, 107 pages of new material. That's basically a screenplay. So in 60 days, a screenplay. Now I didn't write a whole new screenplay, obviously. I was working on different projects between Everyday Clowns, the Secret Project, and the screenplay come-ups. And then, of course, I hit that big snag earlier in the week, right after the Tuesdays at 9 writer's workshop, when I realized what I'd been saying. I went back and looked at all my previous blogs, and I kept talking about this problem with Shep. You know, Shep's not doing enough, and my Act 1 break, he doesn't really make a good decision here to propel the story forward as a protagonist. That seemed to have fallen to Grady. And I tried to work around that, and I kept telling this, well, I'll bolster him a little bit in the first act, and I'll have him say this line at the act break, and that sort of shows that he's part of the decision-making process. You know, I sort of convinced myself, maybe because I didn't want to do all the rewriting that would be necessary to make Shep a much stronger protagonist. And I guess I kind of convinced myself that I was doing something different, and this would work around it, and it was basically slapping a Band-Aid on a really serious wound, and that Band-Aid just wasn't going to help. And even though I was aware of it and knew it, it wasn't until someone actually went, you know, you're having a problem with the protagonist, that I went, yeah. And first it was a phone call from a friend back east, and then it was Matt Hoverman's comment at the writing workshop, and then when I got home speaking to my roommate, she had no idea that Grady wasn't the protagonist. She hadn't gotten very far past the first act yet, but as far as she knew at that point, he was the protagonist, the hero of the story. So, 3 comments all hitting the same thing about an issue that I was already worried about. So, it was pretty obvious. It should have been much more obvious earlier. And sometimes when you get too close to something, you start to believe the stories you tell yourself. And that's what happened here. So I have in the last couple of days, which is why I haven't been blogging, trying to figure out how to get around that problem. And the easiest solution, and one I think actually makes a lot of sense, is instead of having Shep get shot and let Grady make the decisions, well, why don't we let Grady get shot so that Shep has to make the decisions? And so I've been going through the whole action sequence at the end of Act 1, reworking that, reassigning dialogue, changing some of the action around, reworking new dialogue in to make Shep more of the decision maker, and giving him those moments. So he's got actually another save the cat moment now, where he saves Grady's life. So that's a nice little extra that went in. And I was also seemed to be missing some of the humor that I had earlier in the script because I was trying to make those pages, the page count, and I had too many, so I had to take things out. And what I ended up doing was taking out some of the humorous moments because they weren't necessarily driving the story forward, but they were filling us in on the characters and allowing us to get to know them. It also takes away some of the heaviness of all the action and the body count that's already rising a lot in the first act. It's very dark. So we need those humorous moments to sort of relieve the tension. And I pulled all those out to save time and was wearing my audience out from the readers' feedback. It was so much coming at them. They really missed some of that humor. So I had to go back and add some of that in. That is added to my page count. I'm about 113 right now. I got up to almost 115, but through some creative rewriting and some cutting, I got it back down to about 113, just over 100. It's 112 and a third, maybe. So not too far off. My page 25 break into Act 3 is not happening on page 25 anymore, although I still end the act on page 28. I would really, really like to get that page 28 to page 25, because that answers both of those questions and sets things up nicely, and that would pull out the 3 pages that I'm over, and I just don't think I'm going to be able to do it. So I may not be able to hit my prescribed plot points exactly. I think that's okay because there's enough going on and it keeps everything going. And then the big news, Twitter. I have not been on Twitter in a week. I've done none of that social butterfly stuff. The past week while I've been working on the screenplay. And but it hasn't mattered. I've been getting new followers. We were just under 40, or like 38, 39, something like that at the end of last month. And this month, we're at 87. We're approaching 100. And like I said, I haven't really done much in the past week with it at all. So most of those new followers came in the first 3 weeks of the month. And some really good people. I've made some good connections on Twitter. Starting to make a little progress on Facebook. Some of those forums become drama intensive. It's like, can't you keep the drama off Facebook? Put it on the page. But there's a new one going right now. I'll tell you about in a day or two. It's relating to one that happened earlier, but we'll get into that later. So that is the month, and that's what happened. 28 news articles, a new script talk, 56 pages of new material, and 49 new followers on Twitter. Not a bad month. So take a look at your own goals for this past month, for October. Did you make them? Did you exceed them? Did you fail miserably? And try and adjust those for next month. So start thinking about that tonight. Tomorrow you need to post what your goals are for the month. I'll put mine up. And we already know there's going to be a lot of NaNoWriMo. But have a look at that. You do have NaNoWriMo that you can work on if you have a novelization that you want to work on, or just a novel in general. There's also the 0 Draft 30, which is the Screenplay in 30 Days challenge coming from Scott Myers over on the Blacklist. Go into the story. And, of course, you've got your scripts that you're working on regularly that you want to try and get pages for. So map out those goals for next month. See what you can do with them. Review the goals for this past month and see how that's going to affect next month. Anyway, I'll be back here tomorrow on the blog to let you know what my November goals are. And until then, keep up the writing.